What's going on, everybody? Kalip's Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're going to be doing a comparison between the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G and the OnePlus Nord N200 5G. Now before we get started, I do want to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. But with that being said, let's get into the video. So the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G has a 6.5-inch 120Hz Super AMOLED display with a resolution of 1080p, a PPI of 407, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of about 84.1%. We got a hole punch up here for the front-facing camera, real nice looking, real clean, and this camera is 32 megapixels. The OnePlus Nord N200 5G has a 6.49, so basically 6.5-inch, 90Hz IPS LCD display with a resolution of 1080p, a PPI of 405, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of about 83.7%. We got a hole punch up here right in the corner, and this camera is 16 megapixels. So these displays are similar in the sense that they're really good. Not only are they decently large, but they also have great qualities. With the 1080p resolution, you're going to be able to see everything a lot better. The 90 and 100 Hz refresh rates are both higher than the average phone that typically has a 60 Hz refresh rate, and that's going to make the movement on the screen of both of these phones a little bit faster and smoother. Now, granted, the A52 5G has a 120Hz display versus the OnePlus Nord N100 5G with only a 90Hz display, so between the two, the A52 5G will have an advantage here. In addition to that, the Samsung Galaxy A52 also has a Super AMOLED display, which is going to make the colors on the screen a little bit brighter and bolder than an LCD type of display like the OnePlus Nord N200 5G has. So overall, while it's really close, and things are going to look great on both phones, I will give it to the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G because although there aren't very many differences between the two, where there are differences, the A52 5G does have a slight advantage. For storage, the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G has 128 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD card expansion, and the OnePlus Nord N200 5G has 64 gigabytes also with microSD card expansion. Now keep in mind the A52 5G does have another variant with 256, but this specific version in my hand does have 128 gigabytes. Now that being said, either way, the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G is going to have much more storage than the OnePlus Nord N200 5G. So if you are a power user who needs more than 64 gigabytes, then definitely the A52 5G is going to have an advantage here. For the average user, 64 gigabytes should be okay. But since apps, files, data, even the system is all getting larger and larger on phones as time goes on, I would say having more storage than less is a good idea, even if you don't think you'll need it. So regardless of what situation you're in, as far as storage goes, the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G is going to have an advantage. Now, neither of these phones have wireless charging, but both of them have fingerprint scanners and face unlock. So that's going to give you some nice security options, so you won't have to put in a PIN. Now, the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G has a fingerprint scanner right in the display, giving it a nice modern touch. As you can see here, it's really fast and responsive, no issues at all. The OnePlus Nord N200 5G has a fingerprint scanner right here on the power key, which is arguably a little bit more convenient than having it in the display, although it doesn't look as nice. So let's give it a try. There we go, one more time. And as you can see, just as fast and responsive, if not a little bit faster than the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G. Now the performance of fingerprint scanners is pretty standardized, so it's not a huge difference here, but I would say, in my opinion, having an in-display fingerprint scanner like the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G has is a little bit nicer just because of how cool it looks. But on the other hand, having it on the power key like the OnePlus phone is really convenient, so it really comes down to your personal preference. So taking a look at the rear camera setup of these phones, the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G has a 64 megapixel rear camera, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. So real good stuff. This phone has pretty much every camera feature available on a smartphone, and really high quality cameras at that. So if you're looking for a phone you can use for actual photography, if you want to take some real nice high quality pictures that look really professional, and you want to keep them and use them for something like social media or maybe even something a little bit more professional, this phone is going to be a good option because it has pretty much every feature available, and the quality is really going to be there too. As far as video goes, this phone can shoot 4K videos in both the rear and the front cameras. So again, if you're looking for a really high quality camera, this phone is going to be a great option. The OnePlus Nord N200 5G has a triple camera setup with a 13 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. Now this phone is at a huge disadvantage compared to the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G because it doesn't have an ultra-wide camera. Ultra-wide cameras are so useful, in my opinion, so much more so than a macro camera because they have many more different uses. You can use an ultra-wide camera for so many different things, from group photos to taking pictures of larger objects, taking a picture of a room, maybe some scenery, landscape, something like that. The list really goes on. There's so many different ways you can use an ultra-wide camera, whereas with a macro camera, even though it's a nice feature to have, there's really only one situation where it makes sense. It really only has one use, and I feel like it's not as common that you're gonna need to get a super close-up detailed picture like that. So I do think the ultra-wide is a bit of a priority, and since the Samsung Galaxy A52 has all of it, and this phone only has the macro camera, the A52 5G is going to have an advantage. The Nord N200 5G can only shoot 1080p videos in both the rear and the front cameras. So once again, the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G is going to have an advantage because it can shoot 4K. So overall, while the OnePlus Nord N200 5G doesn't have a bad camera setup and can still take decent photos and videos that you can use for stuff like social media, the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G is going to have an advantage because its camera setup is better in every way. Now the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G is getting 6GB of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 750G processor. I ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on this phone and it came back with a single core score of 647 and a multi-core score of 1939. So this is really impressive, and there's not going to be a whole lot that this phone just can't do. It might struggle a little if you're playing a super high-end game like Fortnite, or if you're editing a really large video or something like that. But for everything else, it's going to be real fast if you're just using it for basic activities. Even then, it's still going to have an advantage because of how fast it's going to be. So overall, while this phone isn't flagship level, today's flagship phones are more than double this as far as processing power goes, it's still going to have great performance and be really reliable for everyday use. Now the OnePlus Nord N200 5G is getting 4GB of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 480 5G processor. I ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on this phone and it came back with a single core score of 507 and a multi-core score of 1554. So while it's not quite as powerful as the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G, it still has a great amount of processing power that's going to be good for everyday use. Now, if you're doing really high-end tasks, like playing Fortnite or editing large videos, I would say the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G is going to have an advantage because it has more processing power. And if you're multitasking a lot, again, the A52 5G has more RAM, so it'll still have an advantage. But if you're just using your phone for normal activities, like browsing the web and going on social media and that sort of thing, then this phone is still going to give you a great experience. The Samsung Galaxy A52 5G has a 4500 mAh battery. This supports 25-watt fast charging. This is pretty good, especially the fast charging. And overall, while it's not the biggest battery you can get, it's still going to give you really good battery life. On the other hand, the OnePlus Nord N200 5G has a 5000 mAh battery. This supports 18-watt fast charging. While the A52 5G supports better fast charging, I wouldn't really say this is enough of a difference to give the A52 5G an advantage here, because that's such a situational feature. But on the other hand, the OnePlus Nord N200 5G just has a bigger battery, so I would say that if battery life and overall battery performance is a priority for you, the OnePlus Nord N200 5G is going to have an advantage. In addition to all this, both of these phones do have NFC. In case you don't know what that is, NFC is the technology behind contactless mobile payment services like Google Pay and Samsung Pay. With the feature getting more and more widely used and accepted, I feel like every phone should have it, and that's unfortunately not the case. So it's real nice to see that both these phones have NFC. So in conclusion, which of these phones is actually better? I would say that unless you're looking for the phone with the longest battery life, and that's your number one top priority, you don't really care about anything else, the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G is gonna be the best phone. Even though the differences are slight in most areas, it does have a higher quality display with better features overall, a lot more storage, a better camera setup, better video capability, and a noticeably more powerful processor. But on the other hand, again, if you want the phone with the most battery life and longevity down the road, I would say the OnePlus Nord N200 5G is going to be a better option there because it has a larger battery that's not only going to last more throughout the day, but it's also going to last longer down the road because when batteries start to wear out, the larger battery is going to take longer to degrade to the point where you have to replace it. So the OnePlus Nord N200 5G will last a little bit longer there too. But at the end of the day, both of these phones are really good mid-range 5G phones that are going to give you a lot of value for the money in 2021. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you found this information useful as well. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I will see you in the next video.